we have with us some gentlemen that are on the agenda a little later, but I want to go ahead and bring them up now because this is just so important to us, and I know they've got some other things they've got to get to. We have Mr. Robert Purnell with us. And Mr. Purnell, I don't know what we do without you. The work you've done for the city on the Proud to Take a Stand monument that was just rededicated a couple weeks ago, and now working on our monument to properly honor the U.S. colored troops. Mr. Purnell has with him also Mr. Devin Heath. All of us are familiar with Mr. Heath, who is our director at Visit Natchez, but also has been chairing the Site Selection Committee for the Natchez U.S. Colored Troops Monument Committee. We also have Dr. Roscoe Barnes, who is also with Visit Natchez and also working on the committee in terms of advertising, communication, PR. And so at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Purnell, Mr. Heath, to come and address the board.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board. How are you all today? We have gone through a very extensive process for the site selection for the U.S. Colored Troops Monument, and kind of wanted to share with you a little bit, real briefly. Hopefully you all received this in your packets. The process that we went through so that you can understand exactly how we've gotten to this point. The site selection has reviewed more than 25 sites formally, as well as informally additional sites as well. We created site evaluation form that was evaluating each of those sites consistently across 10 different criteria. And those criteria vary in different areas, including the significance to the U.S. colored troops, and how that site ties into the U.S. colored troops and their involvement here in Natchez, accessibility to both residents of Natchez as well as to visitors coming to Natchez, potential future development and challenges that the site may face down the line, as well as the site flexibility to accommodate different designs and different types of monuments. We hosted a community input session where we opened up to the community to hear their input, and we've invited the community members to provide additional input even after that community session. And it was very beneficial because we did get a lot of feedback subsequent to that meeting as well. And so we received ongoing feedback from the community, and we conducted 2 sets of tours totaling 17 sites. And we'd like to present one of the sites to you today. On the next slide. Dustin, are you doing on my? Okay. Thank you, sir. The next slide shows you the site at Madison and Broadway streets. This is the site that the U.S. Colored Troops Monument Committee has approved for the site for the monument. And to share with you why that site, if we go to the next slide, it has a significant amount of significance to the U.S. Colored Troops themselves. This site was actually shared to us in subsequent to the original community meetings. As I mentioned, we had several rounds of input from different members of the community, and this site was actually recommended by Sir Shesh Boxley, and he shared with us some of the information, as well as we were able to get some information from Mimi Miller, as well as from Deborah Fontaine. The Colored Troops Camp was located right below that site. Brown Sawmill is also the site that the Black recruits were actually enlisted there. So it is very close in proximity to where they actually were. They actually would drill. They would come up the hill to drill with their white counterparts in the Union Army at the top of the bluff there. It was also close proximity there to the debarkation for the naval ships, which were right below there. And it is also where the southern edge of Fort McPherson was. And then the contraband camps were also right below there at Leonard's Mill. So with that, again, as I'd mentioned, the U.S. Colored Troops Monument Committee has approved this site. We'd like to move forward. The next stages for us to move forward are to move forward with the design committee and their work on finding a design. And we know that there's other entities that have an interest in decision making on this. But for us to move forward with the design, we need to be able to solidify approval for this site. So we are requesting approval from the board for this site to be used for the U.S. Colored Troops
Mr.
Monument.
Mayor.
Alderwoman Hall.
Yes, sir. I would like for the Board of Aldermen to approve the site at Broadway and Madison Street as requested by the site committee of the U.S. Colored Troops Committee, Monument Committee, pending approval by the Mississippi Department of Archives and History and pending approval by the Natchez Preservation Commission.
Okay, a motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Frazier. Discussion on
Yes.
the motion.
Yes.
Alderman Frazier?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to say, I was a little perturbed about this because I felt that Mr. Boxley should have been involved in it. But after talking to Mr. Heath and Mr. Boxley, who strongly recommended that this site be placed up there. And as we just heard from Mr. Heath, he gave us the inside information on what Mr. Boxley gave him. And there's more to come to this. And I appreciate what you're doing. And I just want to say, I appreciate Mr. Boxley, who is an authority on many history that's dealing with the Black community. I feel like he has a lot of wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate his system. I appreciate you and also the city of Natchez for taking this forward.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Thank you. Further discussion on the motion?
I too, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
I just
Alderwoman
wanted to
Irvin.
say that I thank the committee for putting that together. I also want to thank Mr. Robert Purnell for reaching out. He's been one of the members who has spearheaded it, along with Mr. Boxley. But most importantly, some of the history that I did learn, and I'm hoping to see that we share with not only the members of the community, but our tourists that come in our city once this monument is up and going, learned a lot of information. So that we would do an enactment there at that location. It would provide a space so all of that could take place and that we would further gain knowledge about our U.S. Colored Troops. And that's so important because that's how history is told and disseminated among the members here in our community and the visitors that will be visiting our city.
Absolutely.
And thank you all. Thank you all for all that you do.
Thank
And
you.
not to mention Ms. Bonds cannot omit you as well. So thank you for all that you do for our city as well. I know she's a part of one of the committees.
Yes. And I was remiss, I should mention that this was a lot of hard work by a lot of individuals. The U.S. Colored Troops Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Purnell, it has been doing a lot of great work. Several committees have been doing a lot of great work. Just kind of first up to bat, so to speak, has been the Site Selection Committee, and very proud of the work that that committee's done, as well as the overall committee.
And I do want to mention, Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
Ms. Deborah Fontaine. Let's not
Ms.
forget her
Fontaine.
as well because
Absolutely.
I'm on that committee with the research and history.
Yes.
So that's been great.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Frazier?
due to the old age and the miss, I can't see like I used to. And I want to thank Ms. Kathleen Barnes too for her effort, not only in dealing with the folks of the road. I think that you and Mr. Boxley in getting this off the ground, it's been a long effort, but y'all did it. So thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry we can't entertain any comments or questions from the audience. It's
Call
not a
the
public
question.
hearing. The question has been called. Second.
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 All right. The motion now will Go to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I want to just say it's amazing the job you've done and the work you put in and the very thorough work you put in. Mr. Purnell, we again, thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and board. I just want to give you a little update on where we are in terms of the Monument Committee. Mr. Lance Harris had his proposal, RFP, and I had it vetted by legal counsel. That has came back. We're going to meet tomorrow. So probably the next phase of this is going to be getting proposals from around the country and beginning to shape what the monument is going to look like. And the thing that we want to do, and we've said this from the beginning, is we want to keep everyone involved, not especially this board, but also the community. So we've had one community meeting, which Mr. Heath took some direction from in relationship to the site. But we're going to also do that with the monument as it go along.
That's awesome.
And just to say, be patient with us, because this is not anything we want to rush. This might take a minute or two. But I also want to just thank the board and all of the persons that's up there. I know I've spoke to a number of you on this, and we want to keep that communication open. So if you have a question or anything, let us know, and we'll come up with an answer, or we'll try and answer it the best we can. But this is all of our project, and I keep saying that. I hate to be redundant, but it's all of our project. So we're open to suggestions. This is not a closed door event.
Thank you so much.
And thank you again.
Thank you. And fundraising is coming along, and we will have another meeting of our fundraising advisory committee soon. Also, I would be remiss if I did not recognize Mr. Darrell White. Mr. White was at Visit Natchez